Today, I want to talk about organizing. You guys, that is, for me, organization is really important. Do I love to do it? Hell no. I don't like to do it at all. But what I find is I can't work when my desk is a mess. I don't, oh, look at that. My drawer's open there. I don't like to work in a mess. And if I have one messy place in my house, it's my office. So today, I have with me Cathy Feltz. Cathy was a client, gosh, it's been a long time ago, right? Several years ago. And Cathy is a professional organizer in the Chicagoland area. So, and she's got a special offer and everything for you guys later. But this morning, Cathy, welcome. Thanks for being here.
Sure. Good to see you, Jean. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. And so, as always, the first thing I want to do is jump into what is your milk crate moment?
Okay, my milk crate moment, I have multiple milk crate moments.
Every
I
entrepreneur does. Every entrepreneur does. You're not really an entrepreneur if you haven't had at least one in the last, I don't know, 10, 12 days.
that seems about right. So
Yeah.
mine is it's kind of like a recurring bad dream, where all of a sudden I start to think, oh my gosh, what am I doing? Why am I in business for myself? This is so uncertain and so difficult. Why did I pick this? And it happens for me when my business ebbs and flows, when it's going strong and I'm working every day. I'm fine and I don't worry. And then the second I start to have a day where I don't have a client, all of a sudden I have these doubts. Am I doing the right thing? Am I in the right business for myself? Why did I pick this?
Yeah. So, can you think of a particular moment where that really was like a defining moment for you? Because that whole ebb and flow, I don't think people
Hmm.
understand that businesses ebb and flow like that, where, and it just is, listen, our lives ebb and flow, right? Our businesses ebb and flow, our money ebbs and flows. So I don't think that if you can, I'm going to push you a little harder to kind of think about
Okay.
one time where you're like, if I get through this, I may just stay in this business.
Okay. So definitely during COVID, definitely during 2020, when everything shut down and I was sitting in my house with my computer thinking, what next? What am I going to do? So it was probably March or April, like early on, where everything just totally dried up and I had no idea how long it was going to last.
Yeah, well, I thought it would last like 2 weeks, right? And it was what, 2 freaking years. So
Right.
so how did you get through that then, Kathy? And sorry, I don't know why I don't put my dogs away if you can hear them barking. Excuse me just one moment. Go ahead and tell us, how did you get
Okay.
through that?
Okay, so what I did was I started to think about why I started my business in the first place, which was the idea that if I worked as hard for myself as I did for other people, that I really could get somewhere and that I would really have control over my time and what I chose to do and not do. So it was remembering that and remembering the feeling of being in a job that I didn't like versus being in this job, my own business that I loved. And it was kind of just reconnecting to that
Mhm.
and that I truly do love what I do and then pivoting, thinking about what can I do from my house with my computer to bring in money. So
So what did you do?
I started Zooming.
So you started helping people organize their home
Yeah, through
via Zoom?
Zoom. And I started teaching classes through Zoom.
Wow. And yay for you because honestly, I've had a couple organizers over Zoom when I would be complaining about my office being messy. They're like, "I can help you with that," and I'm like, if you think for 5 seconds that you can sit there on the other side of the computer and tell me what to do, I know what to do. I don't want to do it, right? You're the
Right.
reason I hire people, right? What you do is why I hire you, right? You come in and you do it for me. I'm all about having somebody else do that, right? If I don't want to do something. And listen, I would imagine you hire pieces out of your business as well. Do you hire out anybody for marketing or anybody for anything else that you bookkeeping or anything you don't really love to do?
Oh, definitely. The number one thing that comes to my mind is my accountant. I do not like that. I am
Yeah.
not interested in that. And so I hire her and she takes that whole headache away from me and just does it. I
Yeah.
give her, yeah.
That's why I think what you do is so important, and to like, that would not have been a service I would be interested in, right, during COVID, right? That it's like, I would have sat in a mess rather than have to do it myself. So
Hmm.
I try to keep it a little organized, but, um, I think your business is the one. So how did that work out for you? Let's start there. How did that work out for you COVID Zooming organizational pieces to people?
Well, it kept me going. It kept me focused. It just really kept me on track, and I was able to offer my clients something. Right.
Yeah.
So instead of nothing, I was able to give them that. And like
I'm
you're
really
saying, for
grateful for
some
you.
clients, yeah, for some clients that worked perfect and they could do that. And other clients said, no, thank you. And they couldn't. They couldn't imagine doing it that way, which is, fine. I mean, organizing is really an individual kind of business.
Exactly, and I could imagine it, right? I could imagine it, I just didn't wanna do it like that, right? I would
Hmm.
much rather would have somebody come in and help me get organized rather than do that myself. Like, I could spend my time way better than,
Hmm.
doing things like that. So, I do love the fact though that Kathy, that you were really able to quickly pivot your business, and uh, and and that was hard for a lot of people just to pivot. There's a lot of people who just said, "No, I'm not doing that." Right?
Hmm.
And those are the people who probably aren't in business any longer, or they're restarting now and trying to gain back what they've lost over the last 3 years. So, was there anybody in particular that helped you get through that milk crate moment there during COVID?
I do have I have like a small mastermind group that I created, and it's just myself and two other ladies who are also entrepreneurs and their neighbors. And so we were able to meet and get out of the house, not early on, but a little bit later on, and just put our heads together, and just talk through and thought through what we could do, bounce ideas off of each other, and really help motivate and hold each other up.
You know what I love best about your business, Kathy, is the fact that you're also a therapist, or are you a psychologist? I don't know what your exact title is.
I'm a licensed clinical social worker.
Okay, and so you also have training in how to help hoarders.
Hmm.
Right? So how did that work? How does that work for you when you're organizing someone? How does that training that you've had help you help your clients?
Yeah, it's hugely important to understand where your client is coming from and understand why they are struggling with a particular area or a particular part of organizing. Just kind of like what are their pain points? What's going on for them? And connecting to them in that way to help them understand, why is it difficult for me to go through my father's belongings,
Mm.
after he passed? Why is that a difficult thing? Or how come I can't let go of any of my children's clothes? My kids are 13 and 14 and I have their baby clothes.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, so just talking through and thinking about how come that is for them. And again, it's very individual, and helping them gain power over their choices and deciding how they want their space to look, how they want their space to feel, how they want their space to function.
Mm.
And yeah.
I never thought that I honestly, I never even gave that a thought that people would have trouble. I can understand. I know a couple people who are having trouble letting go of their parents' things, but
Hmm.
I never thought about people that would have trouble letting go of their children's clothing, right? So why,
Mhm.
I'm just going to ask, why was that she was having trouble with that?
I think that people really love, well, not everybody. Everybody has different ages that they really love when their kids are in. And some people really love when their children are babies and they become very nostalgic and sad that their kids are growing up. And it's all part of, they're going to grow up and they're going to move out of the house. And it's kind of a loss. It's a loss of that stage in life.
Hmm.
And I remind people that the memories are not really embedded in the thing. The memories are something that you hold in yourself.
Mm.
It's in your mind, and you're not going to lose those memories because you got rid of all the paperwork from first grade or all the clothes from when they were a baby.
Oh, that's interesting. I do
Hmm.
know that I only have one daughter, right? And I have two boys, and the boys' clothes are not super cute, right? They're just, plain, right? But I have actually kept a couple, like my daughter's communion dress, and
Yeah.
um, I've kept like a couple really cute, cute, cute things, or things that I'd spent a lot of money on. I don't know why, and I don't even look at them, right? I just like
Hmm.
maybe hoping someday she'd have a daughter that we could pass that stuff down to.
Hmm.
I don't know. Okay, maybe I need a therapist. I don't know.
No, and you know what? It's not that there's something wrong with the person. It's just understanding what your motivation is so you can make an informed choice for yourself. So
Yeah,
you can decide. I don't need to keep everything, but
right,
maybe like you're saying, I want to keep the communion dress. So keeping one dress is fine. Keeping every dress the child ever owned, not fine because you
right,
run out of space.
right, right, yeah. No, I've only kept a couple things like that, and things that eventually, hopefully, will pass down to kids and stuff, so
Hmm.
okay, so what I heard was I am mentally okay right now. That's what I
Yes,
heard.
yes,
Okay,
you are fine.
so, let's talk a little bit more about now, do you just work in the Chicago area?
Um,
And now when I say Chicago, I don't necessarily mean Chicago proper, I mean, like, the suburbs.
yeah,
What
the
is your
yeah,
working
the
location?
suburbs, Chicagoland area and the suburbs. I have had clients who have moved and I followed them just to help them unpack. Like for instance, I had a client that moved to Wisconsin and my mom lives in Wisconsin, so it worked out fine. I stayed with my mom and then I also stayed with the client and helped her unpack and set up her house.
Oh,
So,
that's cool.
yeah,
So what's the farthest you've traveled to help a client?
I think Wisconsin is the farthest I've traveled to
Okay.
help a client, like up by the Janesville area, which that's not that bad. That's not that far.
Is that up 2, 3 hours?
Yeah.
I don't know how far that is.
I think it's an hour and a half to two.
Oh, okay. Well, very cool.
Hmm.
Right. So let's talk about, you have an offer here. I saw it on your sheet while we were getting prepared today that you want to offer. Tell us about the offer that you put together for people.
Okay, so for anyone who has watched this podcast, and mentions the podcast, it's $50 off for any package that you buy. Whether you buy 3 hours, which is my minimum, or you buy 10, or you buy 20, you just get $50 off right off
Oh,
the top.
well, that's a good deal, right?
Hmm.
Who doesn't
Hmm.
wanna save $50 on an organizer? So let's talk about the different places that you do organize. So, like, what's your most when you go to a household, what's the one room that everybody's like, "This is it. Fix this and I'll be perfectly happy."
It seems like it goes in spurts for what's the most popular place. Right now, it seems to be basements. And in basements, I always think about this. Having a big basement is not necessarily a blessing because what happens is people delay their decision what they're going to do with a piece of furniture or holiday decorations or whatever because they have a space to put it. They have a spot.
Mhm.
And so they delay their decision and they store it in the basement. The basement becomes the black hole. So I'm doing a lot of basements right now. In the springtime, I usually do a lot of garages, not so much this year. And really just any space in the house, and it just kind of
Do people tend to have, and I'm just asking because as somebody out there who might possibly want to be a client, I'm asking, I think the questions they want to know. Do
Mhm.
people tend to have um, like just one space in their home that's a difficult space for them?
That's a good question. When someone is calling me in, they usually have multiple spaces.
Okay. Okay. Like
And
they've
in
run out of room and they've started on another room filling it up?
Right, and that's exactly what happens. When one room gets cluttered, the clutter spills over to the next room and the next room and the next room.
Interesting.
So my typical client will have about 3 spaces that aren't
So,
working.
gotcha. Do your clients help you declutter and uh, organize everything, or do they leave you alone?
It again,
I
it's
mean, leave
pretty
you alone to
individual.
do it.
Yeah, it's pretty individual. The longer I know a client and the longer I've worked with them, the more comfortable they are telling me, because they know how I work, telling me just go do the closet. I'll be in my home office taking phone calls. If you have a question, let me know. The best way I think to do it is for them to organize with me, but that doesn't always work in everyone's schedule. And the reason I say the best way is for them to organize with me is because then I can teach them and talk through with them why something's working or not working, what's kind of the best way to set it up and why that's a good way to set it up. For instance, that you need to use your vertical space and why you use your vertical space and how you use your vertical space. So that's the ideal, but
Mm,
I can do it either way. I can do it with them completely hands off and then just giving me ideas for what they want done, and then completely hands on where they're right with me.
Well, that's good news. I'm just asking for a friend, Kathy. So, so, all right. So, what? Let's. Here's what I how I always end this podcast is: what is one piece of advice, business advice, that you find extremely helpful, or something so that you can share it with everybody watching? What's a piece of business advice you find handy?
For other entrepreneurs,
Mhm,
ask for help.
mhm.
Ask for help and get help. Understand the things that you are not an expert in and get help with those specific areas.
I love that because I'm listen, like there are things that I don't want to do in my business. I don't want to do the
Mhm.
bookkeeping. I don't want to do the filing, right? So there are pieces there that I do hire out because I think as an entrepreneur, number one, it's a waste of my time, right?
Mhm.
Do those things that are not revenue generating, and it's not what I love to do. I don't love to do those pieces, so why not let somebody who really loves to do that, and I can go out and make more money to pay the and I don't love the deep cleaning of the house, which is why I've had housekeep. I will work really hard so I can have these people in my life, Kathy. So
Sure. That makes, you know what? That makes perfect sense because we all have gifts,
mhm.
and our gift is not to do everything. No.
I agree. I agree. That is the best piece of advice I've heard all day. All day. So, and it's 8:30, so my day's half over. I've been up since 4:30 working, so,
Oh my gosh.
I'm halfway through my day, and that's the best piece of advice I've heard all day, so, yay. Kathy, thank you so much for, number 1, joining me at my event last week. So great to see you again, and thank you for saying yes when I asked you to be on my podcast, because I do think that entrepreneurs have they have inspirational and motivational,
Mhm.
educational things they can share with other business owners who might be going through the same thing as
Mhm.
either you or some of your other clients that you're sharing with. So, thank you.
You're welcome. It was really fun. It's a nice way. So I did not get up at 4 in the morning. So this is more the start of my day. So this is a
Well,
nice way to start the day.
it was a nice way to start the day, right? And it's probably the best piece of advice you've heard all day so far.
Yes, so far.
So far. All right, Kathy, have a great day. Take care.
Okay, you too. Bye, Jean. Thank